What's up, Rockstars? Welcome to another news video. We have a lot of new launches, a lot of things that have been leading up to now that I got to share, plus some updates on what's delivering and some last minute reminders. Okay, starting right off with Assassin's Creed Brotherhood of Venice Apocalypse. This just launched today at time of recording. I think it's a little bit less than 24 hours launched by the time you see this video. If you missed it and you're coming in late, be sure to subscribe so you get notified as soon as possible about a lot of this kind of stuff. We'll be talking through this real quick. This is a expansion to the existing Assassin's Creed, so keep that in mind. If you don't have Assassin's Creed, that's definitely something you're going to want. This is a very big expansion, but it's also a little bit on the pricier side when it comes to actually how much it is. I guess for an expansion, if that makes sense. So it is a big box expansion. You can see right here, it's about 95 USD currently. That's at time of conversion. I think they listed at 96. It ebbs and flows. It's a conversion. So what'll end up being around there, hopefully, though. And as you can see, you get quite a few different things and a much different scenery, a much different theme than the original one. The original one, they did have an expansion that also did modern day time, so there was some variance there, but a lot of this is pretty new for this. But you get quite a bit of stuff, honestly. Here it is, the 96 is what they're saying. You save at least 42, which is kind of interesting that they're pegging it at around $150-ish MSRP. That's a lot of money for an expansion. That seems kind of crazy to me. Though you do get quite a bit. 30 minis here, and one of them really big. This one's also fairly big as well. You get that for free. It looks like this one is also large. Otherwise, it's kind of standard 32-ish millimeter, 32, 35, somewhere around there. I don't remember the exact one on that. You do get to all the cards. They are the white border style card. If you look, again, same as kind of what you're used to. All the different map tiles and tokens and dice and cubes and trays and all that kind of stuff. If you're wanting, essentially, you didn't get it on the first one, you want the big box of Assassin's Creed plus the expansion, that'll net you around $296. Again, they're saying it's saving at least 81. That's just showing how pricey this is. It's definitely expensive. And then for the all in, where you get everything, you're getting 473 USD out. So quite a bit. All the rest of this campaign page is really just showing you the old stuff, right? What it all came with. And it is a big box for sure. But all the different expansions and whatnot. So really all that's new, again, you can scroll down and kind of see all that, all the video coverage and whatnot, is that top part here. It's really just this. So it doesn't go a huge amount into exactly the gameplay. And that's, I think, because it's assuming you kind of already know from the original. However, if you don't, then you might want to look at some of the videos explaining that, or even their past Kickstarter page. I'm sure does a better job. This is really assuming you know what you're looking at. And so it's just talking about the new stuff, right? Whether it's environment or equipment or gameplay and stuff like that. It's kind of just more of what's already been well reviewed and enjoyed by a lot of you, I think. But kind of a lackluster page there where I think they could have done a lot better sharing really how the game is played for new people, especially because that's like the second thing they list is like, hey, welcome aboard, you're new. You might want to know how to play it a little bit more, I think. Next up, we have Studium No Exit. This is one I've been showing off for a while now. I have conflicting opinions about it, and I still do. So obviously, this back art is my jam. However, this is not the same art that you'll see throughout a lot of the game. So we'll see what that is. It did fund pretty quick, 124 from 500 backers, so it's doing fairly well. That is definitely front-loaded as they had a 250 backer limit, no exit, early Sparrow pledge that's gone. So that instantly jumped it up quite a bit there. You'll see after that, the kind of the all-in is at 75 backers. The kind of main one, I would say, at 300 is at 91, and then 41 for kind of the base 200. And yes, this is an expensive game. We're going to kind of have to discuss that a little bit. There's an FAQ here. There's 3 FAQ entries. And as you can see, it's just VAT and preview and language stuff. So not a whole lot there. This video is completely useless. It's just story. It doesn't tell you anything about the game really at all. So you may as well skip that. It's just like watching a cheap Flash animation thing with some kind of odd voiceover. So completely waste of time there. Don't waste your time like I did. If you come down here, you'll see a little bit about 100 plus hours, 18 plus, 1 to 4 players, 90 to 120 minutes, kind of standard stuff there and kind of what you expected. You already see a little bit of the different art style here. It's definitely a little bit more anime than this. And then again, just kind of, not much about it there. You'll see the current stretch go up top. That's very nice of them to do, to put that up there. So you can see what's coming up at the latest. You'll see a list of what you're getting. One thing I will say is this right here is an issue. And I noted this before. Look at that finger. Look at the bowstring. This is what happens when you have a company that's not used to making miniatures. And so they see these renders and the renders look cool. But then when you actually hold the mini and you realize it's this big, then you'll realize that bowstring is like 5 microns thick, or that finger is like 5 microns. It's like ridiculously skinny and small and not at all practical. Even in hips, that is super duper tiny and fragile. Definitely not something I would recommend. I assume that they will expand that and actually thicken that up. So don't just go off the renders. That is not realistic at all. And if they do that, it's probably a bad decision. In fact, it might be a little doo-doo, as I just said. Additionally, with the renders here, and Aeon Trespass Odyssey's been doing this too, they have this like really washed out, low contrast look to them, which is really unfortunate. Just as an example, Awakened Realms knows what the heck they're doing. Look at the renders of these minis compared to these. Now, they may be the same quality render, like minis wise, but for actually conveying what you're getting and showing off the detail, which one would you pick? If you picked the one with high contrast, with good highlights, some really nice texture added there just to really bring it out, and deep shadows, then you answered right. If you answered, and again, this is still kind of ridiculous, like this little tiny detail and stuff like here, you're not going to get all that little detail on the mini. Again, this mini is this big. This is like 8 times as big of a picture. And in fact, they make the pictures even bigger lower. But still, it's showing you the detail more than this, which also has ridiculous detail that won't make it to the final mini, but it's just completely washed out and you can barely tell what it is you're even looking at. So set it all along if they're either not seeing my videos or they're not caring about some good feedback, but those don't look good. But anyway, you get 4 characters, you get 75 gear cards, 13 class cards, some inventory boards, some sheets, 3 bosses, then like the boss damage AI kind of stuff here, 9 mini bosses, 25 adversary boss, like essentially regular enemies, consisting of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different sculpts, 90 engagement cards, 9 playable NPCs. I'm assuming it's just the cards. I don't know exactly why they have this mini here. It's kind of hard to tell. Then some various dice. This is kind of an interesting dice here. And then 15 like tiles, 3 hallways, 200-page gamebook. That's the big one, especially if it is hardcover, like the look of it there. Then you have 8 advanced classes with class cards. And again, hard to tell if there's minis involved there or not. And then some tarot cards and stuff like that. And really, that's it. Now, that will cost you $200. And I think that's kind of the first issue there, right? That's a bit of an issue. It's just how expensive this is. They're definitely trying to, I think, go for the premium Kingdom of Death monster style thing. And obviously, the unrealistic renders would require a fair amount of pieces, but honestly not much, because a lot of them are just standing there, right? He's just standing there, pretty much just standing there. They're not really action poses, right? Standing, all these guys are standing. That guy's squatting at least, so there's that at least. And that guy's sitting down on the job. Standing, and standing. None of them are in like an action pose where they're going to attack or do something like that. You get a little bit of that there. I guess they're finally not standing there. Again, pretty much just standing. So these are very simple casts that won't take a lot because it's mostly just flat on the X plane or the Y plane or whatever plane you want to call it, right? Where it's just top to bottom standing there. There's not like a whole lot of in front of and stuff like that requires a lot of the multi-piece just not very dynamic poses at all. So the $200, in my opinion, for a new company with this bad of renders, this inconsistent of art, no track record, is honestly something I cannot tell you guys to back. It is not something I would suggest you back it at your own peril. And that's not to say it won't turn out great. That's not to say it's not a great game. Though again, when it comes to game, well, they posted the rule book. Besides that, there's nothing here telling you what it is, like, or how it even really plays. There's a little bit of here, like very minimum kind of concept high level, but none of these are really mechanic driven or even really gives you a good sense of how the game actually is, how it plays, what it is. They do have a tabletop simulator. Again, you're on your own looking in there in the rule book, but when it comes to the campaign page, you pretty much have no information. In my opinion, it's actually kind of sad that with this little effort, this many missteps, that they've even funded as much as they have. You definitely need to do better at the actual game and not just showing like anime art and bad renders. I don't support this style of first campaign. Definitely needs to have more information and a better launch than that. My opinion. I don't see it raising a terrible much more than the people that are already either really backed or grabbing it on a just in case. Hopefully they can improve it over the campaign. They have 29 days to do it. I'll let you guys know. Moving on for that, Monster Hunter World, last reminder here, 4 to 8 hour at time of recording, so less than that by the time you see it. Definitely go ahead and check it out. All the links, of course, are in the description below. They did get over 10,000 backers. That's quite good. They got over 20,000 in the first one, 2.5 million raised, and honestly, a lot of it's because it's really expensive. They did announce this monstrous pledge. This is the all in. This gives you everything that's new, so it doesn't get the original Monster Hunter at all. This is just what's available here. And again, they're asking $380. That's a $400 pledge. You'll be spending more than $400 by the time you get the shipping and, you know, all the other fees that you might have to pay. But at least with shipping, you're at $400+. So it is a very expensive standalone, campaign here when it comes to this. Obviously, you are getting quite a lot of big minis here, a lot of bosses. That's definitely the focus. So you do get quite a few hunters as well, though they're not all like super different. But either way, definitely a lot of variety here. The monsters are the big piece here, but $380. Again, I talked about it in my video last time. They are just super expensive these days. These campaigns are like out of control with the expenses. I mean, just insane. They just hit 2.5 million. Congrats on that, SFG. I get it's a lot, but this is $400+ in addition to what they already backed. At that point, you're at almost $1,000 for this board game. And I don't know if Monster Hunter World is worth $1,000 to me. Actually, I do know it's not. No, I don't. I'm very much backing off the do I need $1,000 worth of board game? If so, it needs to be a pretty big hit for me. And it is for a lot of people. A lot of people like it. 8.1. It's definitely at least reached that 8 on a BGG, which is good. But yeah, man, that's a lot. That's a lot. All right, next up we have Into the Godsgrave. This is Lucky Duck's game latest, and it's raised about 110,000 right now from 1,000 backers. Honestly, not the biggest launch for them, I feel, and I can understand why. It definitely looks like it's odd. It's odd. So obviously it's app driven. Lucky Duck always kind of does this. But really, this is the game right here. It's very minimal there. But the app doesn't necessarily do a whole lot either. You're just kind of moving around these hex tiles to these different zones and resolving story and fighting. And all that's kind of in the app here too. So you do have dice here, as you can see. But really, the app is pretty much doing a lot of that. So there's some card-driven gameplay. You're kind of doing some deck building, I believe, and stuff like that. But if we look down to I'll skip all this junk. Okay, so you're exploring the world, right? Just moving from, tile to tile, kind of doing your exploration. You're fighting off enemies, and you're doing what you need to do objective-wise by doing both of those things, really. And then, of course, you get loot for it, and that's really it. The app does all the fighting for you. It does all the tracking of choices in the story for you, and it allows you to replay it by randomizing things. And that's That's kind of it. I mean, it just seems like to me like a very light experience kind of game where you're going around, you're doing that, you're playing through it, and then you call it good. It doesn't seem that strong when it comes to gameplay. But honestly, they could do a better job, I think, explaining the card gameplay and exactly what that entails. Either way, for this kind of story-driven card gameplay where you're moving around an overworld map, you're going to be charged about 86 USD for the basic pledge. For the expanded pledge, where you get a little bit more story, you're at $130. Big bit there. And there's more minis too. I think they show that down here in the expanded pledge. And then you have the collector pledge, which is about $180. And that gives you all of these. So you get the metal tokens, you get the plastic markers, you get the different class packs and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know. Again, kind of a hard sell to me. It doesn't seem like it has a lot of oomph when it comes to the gameplay, and it's to me it seems more like one of those. I go through the story, I finish the story. That was pretty cool. You can play it again and make different choices, I suppose, but definitely not something that has a lot of heft to it. That could be good for you. That could be bad for you. It just depends, I think, on what you want your gaming group to go through. Either way, they've just almost reached about the 1,000 backers. All right, next up we have the Tanares Adventures Ultimate Edition. This will be coming out here fairly soon, next month, I believe, June 27th. So that's when that's launching. So they did kind of push it out a little bit here. I'll have a review for Tanares Adventures by the time this launches. So that's definitely given. They do have a Silver Dragon free day one, so it'll have a strong launch for sure. That's definitely something that looks kind of cool. In fact, it reminds me a lot of the Harakiri Dragon. Same kind of thing, but this one's wrapped around a building, and again, it looks super cool. I remember previewing this a long time ago, so it's cool to finally see it there. They're showing kind of everything they have here. Really, this is the big deal here is the combination of boxes. And then a streamlining of the gameplay. I'll go over that. So if you're like new and you want the Tanares Adventures and the original one in one box, $189. I think before this would have been $179, and that's kind of the general thing. It's either at the same price or slightly more kind of as time goes on. But these will all be combined into one box. That's pretty cool. I dig that. They also, again, are, this is improved arena one. So really what that does is it kind of revamps the rules for the gameplay through that and the scenarios to be more like Tanares. And I'll show you that in the upgrade pack. There's a super box that's full of it. It has all of the stretch goals from the previous one, I believe. It also has that's that legendary box there. That's pretty much all of the stuff from the original one. And then the prenumeral pack, I think I'm saying that right. And that's packed full of a whole lot of stuff. I think it shows that here real soon. And then, of course, you can get the $5.99, which is a lot, but you're getting a lot too. You're getting that Madness box. You're getting the Gold Dragon. You're getting the Tarask, I believe, as well. And then, of course, you have the cosmetic all in $7.99. It just paints all of that. It is pretty good painted. That's actually a pretty legit deal. Here's kind of the upgrade that I was talking about. $35, and that'll give you the upgrade kit. Really, there's a few things like this, like some updated cards and whatnot. Not a whole lot, as you can see there. You do get these kind of upgrade sheets and then some envelopes of secrets that are updated. But this is the main thing here. They're calling them remade in a streamlined play flow. Essentially, you go through this book and you're really doing, kind of one at a time. And it kind of guides you through everything instead of swapping back and forth through books. So it just reads through a lot better. And additionally, again, it remakes all of the Arena of the Contest quests into Tanares Adventure quests. So it kind of updates that too. If you're returning, you can get the 128, which gives you the upgrade kit plus the empty boxes to put everything in. So now it's just in 2 boxes there. Hopefully that helps with setup. That's kind of the goal there, I think. So between the streamlined gameplay and the setup, the game should just be a lot smoother. It also has a narration app for Foreteller. If we go down to the Foreteller, they want $25 for that. I believe I just covered Anthrop Odyssey, which was saying they only wanted like 9 or something, was it? Either way, like $25 for the narration is pretty darn hefty, but there's a lot there to narrate as well. But so is Anthrop Odyssey. I don't know if there's a standardization in the pricing or kind of how that works. I'm not exactly sure, but $25 for the voiceover seems like a lot to me. I know it's definitely more than a lot of audiobooks, that's for sure. But it is what it is. Anyway, that's coming up here soon. This is a preview page, so you can respond to give them comments, stuff like that, as desired. Lastly, we have a Chronicles of Judicar, Age of Darkness Apocalypse. This affects many things, though. So hear me out. This this could affect another game you backed. Their manufacturer, E-Star, which they say, hey, they're amazing, they do great work, did a goof. And I want to give you some inside information on this. Essentially, they were wanting to increase the size of some of the molds. Some of them turned out a little small for them, and they gave that feedback to them. But then when they got the final kind of, hey, sign off on this, they noticed that the standard sizes were still not accurate and did not meet their approval. So they have to essentially retool a lot of these to increase them. Now, the retool on this is a retool. That means like essentially you're crafting a mold in the steel and you now have to make that larger. That's not as simple as just, you can't just drag and redo. You have to redo the thing, right? So that already is going to take a while. In fact, they're saying it'll take about 2 months turnaround. That's assuming all goes well, though hopefully it is. Hopefully they just increase it. E-Star knows what they're doing there. This kind of miscommunication, by the way, does happen. I've seen it happen with other manufacturers. It's just an unfortunate situation. When I was helping with Reggie Games and their stuff for Primal, actually, we were on like the 3rd iteration on one of the minis, one of the feather ones. And then when they made a change, they for whatever reason, for the 4th modification, made a change to the original file that we sent them instead of their latest modified one. So they fixed that thing, but they reset all the other things that we had done. So then we had to get another modification and do it all over again to finally get, now thankfully this is before tooling, right? So thankfully this was just a thing like in the render, but it can happen at any time where they do this like miscommunication or they use the wrong thing or for whatever reason they don't fix it, right? And so we had to have them redo it all and like, okay, now do that, but to that. And explaining that took several times, several back and forths, like between the language barrier, between the time of difference between the delivery, and it just sucks, especially with redoing tooling and stuff like that. Now, how that necessarily worked with the actual steel mold already done, I'm not exactly sure. But all I know is that sort of stuff happens and it sucks. Now, how this affects you. This is a 2-month delay for the Age of Darkness Apocalypse. That is definitely a delay there, another 2-month delay. However, E-Star is prioritizing this fix for them, which means they're going to delay pretty much everything else that was in the queue by about that much as well. So this will affect many other games. I do not know what else is in E-Star's queue. Probably a lot, though. So this will kind of change up kind of the whole crowdfunding industry that's using E-Star. This kind of stuff does happen, by the way. Either a big order comes in and they prioritize that, or they have to fix something and prioritize that, or either way, that queue is a very loose, non-rigid thing. And I know many indie developers who have contacted me saying that they were kicked out of a queue or put down longer because some other big name came in after the fact. So these delays happen all the time. They're out of your control, and it just generally kind of sucks for everybody. But either way, that definitely happens. So that keeps you up to date on that, guys. That's pretty much all the new stuff I wanted to cover in today's video. I hope you appreciate the closer deep dives into this when it comes to the pricing and expansions and what they offer and all that kind of stuff. If you do, be sure to let me know either in the comments or through a like so I know to keep doing that. If there's anything I missed that you want me to cover or want me to take a look at, let me know in the comments below, of course. And I'll talk to you guys again very, very soon for more news, more reviews, more unboxings, and of course, opinion topic-based videos. Stay tuned for that. Guys, have a great rest of your day. Take care. Bye, guys.